Boker Toy, Boker Or. Okay, good morning, everybody. As we go to the portion of today, which is on today is Wednesday, the fourth portion of the portion of Vayakal Pekude. We're holding on chapter 38, verse number 1. And then he made the altar. The altar of the sacrificial altar. He made it first out of acacia wood. It was 5 cubits. Its height, its width. The Hamish and 5 cubits. Its width. It's 5 cubits long and 5 cubits high. The altar was square. And 3 cubits its height. And this whole Gemara, we learned it already, that there's 3 different levels to this Mizbeach. The 3 cubits was the bottom part. He made 3 horns on the 4 corners of the altar. The horns was from the base. And he covered this whole altar with copper. And then he made all the implements of the altar. See, they serve its pots, its shovels, and its sprinkling base, and the fresh hooks, and the fire pans, all the vessels that we use for the outside altar, the altar of the sacrifices, all the vessels that he made, he made them out of copper. And then he made to the altar a copper grating. Reshes, it was a netting work. It was a middle that was in the middle of the altar. It was made out of copper. It was beneath the ledge from below until the middle. So it went around the middle of the altar. And then he made 4 rings. And to the 4 ends of Lemichba. To the 4 ends of that grating, he made these holes, he made rings, batim lebadim, so there will be holes, rings for the badim, for the bars that carried them. He made the poles, he made out of acacia wood. It's after the cheshef, and he overlaid it with copper. But he inserted the poles into the rings. Outside mizbeach, which was on the sides of the mizbeach. It is to carry it, the Mizbeach. He made it hollow out of boards. Means hollow. It was a thickness of 4 fingers. She says, the boards of the acacia were placed on all the sides, and the hollow part was in the middle. Then he made the whitewash pen, he made copper. He made the base also copper. And Maris had voice. But it was from the mirrors of the women who set up the legions, who congregated at the entrance of the tent of meeting. Rashi says, what is the meaning of this? Bemaris hatzvos. This was the mirrors. Israelite women owned mirrors, which they took into when they adorned themselves. They would use mirrors. Even these mirrors that did not hold back from bringing to the contribution of the Beis Hamikdash, they brought the mirrors. Moshe Rabbeinu said first, he rejected them. Said, they're vanity. Why are you bringing vanity concepts to the Beis Hamikdash mirrors? The other one, blessed be he, said, no, accept them. But these are more precious to me than anything else. These mirrors are very precious to me, God says. Even for anything else, because through them, the women set up legions, many legions of children in the land of Egypt. When their husbands were weary and backbreaking labor, the woman would go and bring them food and drink and give them to eat. Then the woman would take these mirrors, and each one of them would see herself with her husband in the mirror. And she would seduce him with words saying, I'm more beautiful than you. And this is the way they aroused in their husband the desire and they would have relationships, conceiving and giving birth. So the women used these mirrors in Egypt to create children, Baruch Hashem. And as it says in the Song of Songs, under the apple tree I arouse you. This is the meaning. The manas hatzvah is the mirrors of those who set up legions. But these, the mirrors, the wash that was made because its purpose was to make peace between a man and wife. How so? By giving a drink of water that wasn't a wash space to a woman whose husband, this is the law later of a site, not to say private, a certain man that seclude herself with anyway, the water would test her and either destroy her or prove her innocence. You should know that there were actually mirrors because it says the copper of waving was 70 talents from what he made, but the wastebasket was its base were not mentioned amongst the produced were the 70 talents. Thus, we've learned that the copper of the washbasket was not copper of waving, it was the copper of the mirrors. So did Rabbi Tanchuma expound on the matter in the Medrash Tanchuma. And so did Uklis also translate the Machzed Neshaya, the mirrors of the woman. So, which is in Aramaic, it's also translated Maris, mirrors. Ashet Savu, which they congregate to bring as a donation. Yes, the Chatzalafas Negev, then he made a courtyard. On the southern side, there were there was hanging courtyard, twisted of linen, 100 cubits. Amudim Esrim, and their pillars were 20. Adinaim Esrim, their sockets were 20. They didn't have two sockets under each pillar, they had one socket. The chayshes, the sockets were copper, and their hooks of the pillars and their bands were all silver. The fast Safan, and then so to the northern side. It was Me'abam, was 100 cubits. Amadeyam Estim, there was 20 pillars. Madneim Estim, there were 20 sockets. The chayshes of copper. Their hooks, the hooks and the pillar of the pillars and the bands were all silver. Lafas Yam, and to the western side was Chamishim Bam. So we know the length of the length of the chutzner, of the courtyard, was 100 amma, whatever 100 amma is, 150 feet, let's say, and the middle was 50. That's 75. So it was at least a minimum of 150 by 75 feet was the courtyard, and it says it was 50 amas. The hangings of the show was 15 cubits. And their pillars were, and the Satik was 3. Into the second shoulder of Mizel to the gate of the courtyard. There were hanging was 15 cubits. And their pillars were 3, and the sockets. All the hangings of a courtyard all around was sheish mazra, was fine linen. So the beautiful curtain that was hanging around the chutzner was beautiful linen. The nail and the chayshes and all the sockets of the pillars were copper. But all the hooks, the pillar, the bands were silver. It's a baby that saying kesem, and the overlay of their tops was silver. They were from kesem, and their bands was silver. All the pillars of the courtyard. And then the screen of the gate of the courtyard. The gate called the front part. That was so to say the door, but it was not. It was like a curtain that stood in front of the entrance. Was the work of embroidered. That was made out of tchelas, v'agam, and tlashoni. Was made out of blue, purple, crimson wool. Sheish mazazar was twisted fine linen. Sim amra, it was 20 cubits long. And the width of 5 cubits corresponding to the hangings of a courtyard. That says the dimension of the hanging of the courtyard. And the pillars were 4, the sockets were 4, the chayshes, they were copper, the hooks were silver. and the overlay, the top of their bands was silver. All the pegs of the Mishkan that held down the curtain to the boards were all the chayshes were all worked out. Mishkan. This is the number, the counting of the Mishkan. Mishkan Eidos, which is the count with we just went into the second parsha, Parshas Pekudei. This is the count number of the Mishkan of the testimony. Asher Pakad al Pi Moshe, which was counted through Moshe. Avedis Alavim, which was a service of the Levim. Biyadi Samar, under the direction of Isamar ben Aaron HaKohen, son of Aaron the Kohen. Rashi says this Parshas Pekudei, all the weights of the donations of the Mishnah were counted, that of silver, gold, and copper. And all its influence in its works is also counted. Over here it says Mishkan. Why does it say double the word Mishkan? And Rashi says this alludes to the temple, which taken in security Mishkan by two destructions. So Mishkan, Ha-Mishkan. The two temples, the Dasha, this is to allude to the two temples, the Remez. It's allude to the two temples that stood in the base in Israel that will be destroyed. Mishkan Eidos. Actually, the Mishkan was a testimony for Israel that he, the Holy One, blessed be he, forgave them on the golden calf, and he caused the Shekhinah to rest in their midst. Avedis Alavim. Now she says the numbers, the countings of the Mishkan and its furnishings, which the work was given over to the Leviim, the desert to carry, this mantle to set up, each person according to its burden, as we're going to say later in the book of Numbers. Yadi Summer, he was appointed over them to deliver to each family that work that they would have to do. Tzala ben Uri b'Chor, and Tzala the Uri, the son of Chor, Mata Yehuda, to the tribe of Yehuda, also he did Kol Hashatziva Hashem Especially everything that God commanded. Rashi says that Moshe had commanded him is not written. Over here it says what God commanded Moshe. But that the Lord had commanded Moshe, meaning that even in things that his master Moshe had not said to him, that Salel view coincide with that Moshe saw in Hasira. Salel, that's it was given B'Tzelkel. And that's the beauty, that was the greatness of B'Tzalel. For Moshe commanded B'Tzalel to first make things, the furnishing, and after the Mishkan. Right? Rashi is not referring to the commanded to donate the materials. Since on the contrary, the Holy One, blessed be, he commanded the opposite in Parshas Truma. First, God commanded them to make the furnishings, the table, the menorah, the curtains, and afterwards he gave them the command to make the Mishkan. The command, our teacher Moshe, may he rest in peace, at the beginning of Vayakel, lists first the Mishkan and afterwards the furnishing. So, what did they do first? Seemingly, Moshe had been told to make the furnishings first and then make the Mishkan. Ultimately, in Vayakel, says they made the Mishkan and then they made the furnishing. So that could be one concept that there was a difference. But Rashi says that over here means something else. That's besides the point. It's of Medrash. The Medrash says they had an argument what to make first. Rather, Rashi is referring to the command to the workers that he ordered he should work. You'll find in the Parsha Kisisa that God commanded to order the Mishkan construction. Here I call the name B'Tzalel. First, the tenth meaning is mentioned, and afterwards, the furnishing. As far as command in Truma to donate, to prepare what they require for the Mishkan and its furnishing. What difference does it make? What to donate first? In the chapter of Hayra, if you ask, how do you know what our teacher Moshe, may he rest in peace, commanded B'Tzalel to do the opposite of what God commanded? Since it's not found in the text, that Moshe commanded B'Tzalel to construct first the furnishings and then the Mishkan. We may reply that it's written in Parshas Vayakel, and Moshe called B'Tzalel Eliyav. There, the Torah is very brief in explaining that Moshe said to them from this verse to chapter 38, verse number 22, which is the word, all that the Lord had commanded Moshe, we see that Moshe commanded him in the opposite manner. Therefore, the text here does not say that Moshe commanded him. Study this well. Bezalel responded, it is common practice first to make a house and then to put furniture into it. He said to him, that's what I heard from the mouth of the Holy One, blessed be He. Moshe said to Bezalel, you were in the shadow, B'tzel El. You were meaning Bezalel's name, you are right. But surely that's what the Holy One, blessed be He, commanded me. And so he did. Bezalel made first the Mishkan, and afterwards he made the furnishing. And that's brought down in the Medrash. Done together with Bezalel was Eliyahu, the son of Esramel, to the tribe of Dan. He was a craftsman, a weaver, a great weaver, a tzelus, a governor, in embroidering of blue and purple and crimson wool, and in the linen. Verse 24, all the gold that is being used to the work of the holy gold, and all this gold, the waving was 29 teisha ve'esim kika, was 29 talents, shah meis, and 700 shleishim, and 30 b'shekel hakodesh. Rashi says talents, 60 mana. A mana, the other one is doubled, the normal mana. Hence, the talent mentioned here was equal to 120 ordinary manas. Twice the norm of a talent. The mana is 25 selah. That's a talent of the other one, 300 shekel, 3,000 shekel. Therefore, in the text counted out detail all the shekels that was less than 3,000. Since that I mentioned the talent, and thus enumerated separately. I don't know exactly the amount it is. We can look it up. I think the article does give the exact amount what would be today, equivalent today, how much gold was there. And the silver of the community was Ma'as Kikar, was 100 talents. And 1,775 shekel. Shekel of things. Bekel Galgelus, Machsa shekel, the bekel per head that was silver. They gave a half a shekel HaKodesh, the holy shekel. And all those that went, those that were 20 years old and upwards, was 603,000 to 550 people. So that's half a shekel will be half of that number, 300,000 shekel. Beka is split. This is the name of the weight of a half a shekel, is a beka. The sheish meis, this is how many Israelites were. The number equals that after the Mishkan was erected, as appears in the book of Numbers. Now, too, when they donated to the Mishkan, this is how many they were. The number of half of 600,000 equals 100 talents. Each one of the equivalent to 3,000 shekel. Also, 600,000 half shekel is 300,000 whole, which equals 100 talents. 300,000 shekel equals 100 talent. An additional 350,500 halves equals 175 shekel. 100,775 shekel. And there was 100 talents of silver was used for casting of the sockets. And the dividing curtains, there was 100 sockets. Out of the 100 talents, 1 talent for each socket. As she says, the sockets of the Holy Temple, the sockets of the planks of the Mishkan, there were 48 planks, which is 96 sockets. That's how many sockets you needed, in addition to the 4 sockets of the dividing curtain. So that's how you have 100 talents of silver went to the sockets. That's where 100 talents of silver went to. It was 48 sockets. Each socket was a talent. And they had the 4 dividing curtain, which inside the Mishkan, dividing between the Holy and the Holy of Holies. So there you had 100 talents of silver just for the sockets alone. And then you had 1,775 shekel left of silver that he used. That was used for all the hooks, for the pillars, and the cover, the top of each pillar was silver, as we just mentioned. So the tops of the pillars with them, meaning the remaining shekels, concerning them, it's written, and they covered their tops, and their bands were silver. And then you had the copper. How much copper was counted? Shivim kika, 70 talents of copper. Shekel, 2,400 shekel. Yasbas had the Pesach made, and he made with them the sockets of the entrance of tent meeting. And with that copper, he made the copper of the altar, outside altar. It's the copper grating that was on the outside altar. It's called and all the vessels of Mizbeach. Verse 31, to the sockets of the courtyard. And then the sockets of the gate of the courtyard. All the pegs of the Mishkan and the courtyard was all made out of copper. Verse 39, chapter 39, verse number 1. From all the blue and purple and crimson wool. Also, Big Yasrad, he made the meshwork and the garments to serve in the holy. Yasser is Big Kodesh, and he made all the garments of the Kohen. Asher Tziva Hashem Espesh, as God commanded. Rashi says it's not mentioned over here linen, since I concluded there that the verse Big was in the Big Hasrad. In the over here, not talking again about the garments of the Kohen. The top parsha, the top of the pasuk is not talking about the garments of the Kohen, talking about the coverings. There was no linen in that. The Kohen garment was in linen used. Instead, I believe that the garments in which the Kohanim covered the holy furnishing at the time they would draw these furnishings to take the journey was no linen, was only made out of the other purple or crimson wool, etc. And that completes the Chumash for. We now go to the Tanya of the day. We are holding it in the middle of chapter 36. The Alter Rebbe, yesterday, blew our minds explaining us the whole purpose of Mashiach and why we wait for that and why we yearn for the coming of Mashiach every day, because it is the purpose of creation. That's the purpose. Gilui Elokus, the revelation of God in the world. Not that there's just a revelation of God, but that the revelation is seen by a human being. That only a human being, even Malachim, don't have the capability to see God. They would totally be consumed. The concept that a human being, in his flesh and blood, with his own eyes, to be able to see godliness, that purpose of creation, that's the entire purpose of creation. And that's really the whole purpose of what we're trying to accomplish with Torah mitzvahs in this world, is that ultimately we would be able to see HaKadosh Baruch Hu, be able to have a relationship, upon him, which Moshe Rabbeinu asked for, that we should have a relationship. As the Alter Rebbe said in the verse yesterday, they'll see eye to eye. And your eyes shall see your teaching God. And that is why ultimately we are yearning for this concept. And ultimately we will merit this concept. And we'll surely merit it in Mitzvah when Mashiach comes. And as the Alter Rebbe says, with Tchias HaMesim, that's the second part, the second journey in the coming of Mashiach, that will be the resurrection of the dead. And all souls will come back to their bodies and have this revelation. So the Alter Rebbe said, this is not a reward, this is the purpose of creation. We're not talking about reward, we're talking about purpose. So even Gan Eden is reward. That's why we're not looking for Gan Eden. That's why the Alter Rebbe would say, I don't want you Gan Eden. I want to have you. I'm not interested in Gan Eden. Gan Eden is reward. I'm not looking for reward. I'm looking for purpose. And I know that the whole purpose of creation is Gilul Lakus. And that's what revelation of God is. And that's why I'm there. If God, the Alter Rebbe continues, this is a very deep concept. But it's something that we all need to comprehend and understand and have, and we should focus on that agenda, the agenda of what the purpose of creation is. And the Alter Rebbe says, and the truth is, this revelation it happened before. Not it's something that we are something a new thing that never happened. It did happen. It happened something like this. The Shas Matan Torah. At the time of the giving of the Torah. Because as the Torah expresses itself and says what was the accomplishment of Matan Torah, we know that the patriarchs kept the whole Torah. And Jewish people kept them a lot of the Torah, even before the Torah was given. So what's the greatness of Matan Torah? The greatness of Torah is, well, we say this on every Ataresa, we say this before we open the ark. We open the ark and see the Torah say, you have made known to know. Haresa, you showed. You have shown that God is the Lord. Ain't Movade, there's nothing else besides. Haresa Mamish, you revealed yourself literally. You made yourself seen. Mamish. The revelation was in a manner receivable by physical sight. Who can see, as it says, as the verse says that the entire people saw. They didn't hear thunder. They saw the thunder. Saw the verses. They saw what was normally heard. That's what happened to Matan Torah. Finish up saying and our sages explained they looked eastwards and they heard divine speech issuing forth, saying, I am the Lord your God. So too, turning towards the 4 points encompassing above and below. They heard the words coming from every direction. Because the Shibbis B'Tikkunim, as brought down in the Zohar, the less aside, there was no place in which God did not speak to them. God, they heard God's voices all from all directions. Is because that there was a revelation in the 10 Commandments. In his blessed that he revealed, it came from the world. The entire world spoke. The 4 corners and up and down spoke. The entire world surround. Well, today we have surround sound. And these, since they're the 10 Commandments, comprise the entire Torah, these 10 Commandments, which represents the inner aspect of God's will and wisdom. There ain't some hester upon him. There's no concealment. It doesn't come out of one place. It doesn't come. You can't hear it from the other place. No, it was heard from all sides. The entire world and everything that surrounded the world all spoke. The words were heard from all sides. As it says, from the light of your countenance, you gave us the Torah of life. The Torah represents the light of God's countenance, meaning the inner light of godliness. When this light was revealed through the uttering of the 10 Commandments, the entire world experienced a revelation of godliness, every aspect of the world. That's one of the other reasons that the word did not reverberate. Usually a word you have an echo. The Eibishter penetrated the world. The entire world was penetrated by God's voice. The entire world spoke God's word. It was the voice that was penetrated and came through the entire world. That's the ultimate revelation. the word of God, God's word becomes part of the world. And the world becomes part of his word. That's what happened. What happened was they were nullified totally. And when you in the Gemara wants to say why, what happened when you're nullified totally, that's the Gemara says. Their soul took flight from their body. It was the whole argument. When did they die? But the soul took flight from their body. The soul, in essence, became part of their spirit, their physical existence. God restored it to them. God restored it to them. Isaiah says to the tal, to the dew, that the Eibishter will again restore all those that have died in Tchias HaMesim, the tal, with the dew that will give from heaven. Well, tal Teda. This is the dew of Teda, which is called might, meaning the Teda provides a strength that enables us to receive the divine revelation without solving out of existence, as explained above in reference to the Tzaddikim in the world to come. As our sages also say, whoever engages in the learning of Teda, the dew of Teda revives. The Teda has various described: dew, rain, and so on, water, bread. There's many expressions to the word, to what Teda is. Each figure denotes a different level within it. And the statement, we learn that dew referred to the Teda restorative power, resurrection. And it's with this dew in which God restores the soul of a Jew which has taken flight upon experience, a degree of divine revelation, foreshadowing that of the Messianic age. So the Eibishter gave us a Teda that we can connect him in the greatest and ultimate way, and at the same time not lose our identity, not to become bottled. So Teda is given to us in a way. Teda is revelation of God. Is learning Teda. We're revealing godliness in the world right now by learning Teda. And at the same time, the Teda keeps us alive. The Teda keeps us in existence. Afterwards, after in the beginning times, when the Teda was given at Mount Sinai, they made a sin. They did a sin. That was the sin of the golden calf. What was the sin of the golden calf? This Gashma Haim Vaylam. What happened was they lost that. They suddenly, their existence came about them. And they became more coarse. And not only they became coarse, but the whole world became coarse. And we know that the sages say that everything is connected to that sin. Everything's connected to the chet of the Egel, Ad Eis Kates Hayamim, until the end of days, when God's right hand, Yamin, meaning both day and right, and his power will be revealed. Why? Because then there'll be refinement. The dross of the body of the world will be refined. And then the world and the human being will be able to receive the revelation. The Yerli Yisrael, which will shine forth over Israel, idea Teda, through the means of Teda, which is called might. That's the might of the Teda. They give us the capability, might. They give us the strength to be able to see godliness and at the same time stay in a physical state. And from this superabundance of light will shine upon the Jewish people, will change the darkness of the world also. Not only will this light be for the Jewish nation, but it'll be for the entire world. The entire world will be elevated. As the verse says, And the nations will walk in the Jewish people's light. You'll be a light upon the nations. You will reveal this light, and not only you're not going to keep it for yourselves, we won't keep it for ourselves. We'll elevate the whole world, and the entire world will give this light to the entire world. See, Beis Yaakov, as the verse says, Beis Yaakov neilech la'el Hashem. It's written that the nations will say to the Jewish people, house of Jacob will go, and we'll walk along by the light of God. As it also says that at that time Mashiach comes, the glory of God will be revealed. And all flesh, not only the Jewish people, the rest of the world, the entire world will see. As is brought down, to enter the holes of the rocks, in the clefts of the boulders, they pachal Hashem, the fear of God, and from His majestic glory. This refers to the nations who will be filled with dread of God. For it cannot be said for Israel, who will be one with God. They will seek refuge from Him. We will be parted. That's our avodah. Our avodah is to become one with the Eibishter. And then the rest of the world will realize the greatness of the Jewish people, the greatness of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, which the Jewish people bring about the light of God in the world. Because as it's written, appear in the majesty of the splendor of your might. I'll call with the inhabitants of the world, including other nations. Thus we see, Messianic era, God, this will be revealed to all the nations of the world. And in this state lies the fulfillment of the purpose of this world was created. So really the truth is that Matan Torah, so the Jewish people, was also the Jewish people, and ultimately affected the entire world. But who sinned at that time was the Jewish people, which brought about a negative consequence to themselves and a negative consequence to the world. So therefore, we're still on the journey of Matan Torah. And that's why we have to, in a way, you have to feel that every day you're learning Torah is a Matan Torah. Because we are learning Torah all for the purpose of Matan Torah. The purpose of Matan Torah was revelation of God. We learn Torah today, revelation of God. And even as today we don't merit to see this revelation the physical way, Mashiach comes because that is the purpose. The purpose is not to sit and learn Torah and to bring down a godliness to the world and not to see it. That's not the purpose. That you can do in Gan Eden, where they have revelation of God and they still don't see it. The purpose of creation in the world is that we will see it. And therefore, we need to demand and ultimately accomplish the purpose of creation and the purpose of our service. Every one of our service in this world is to bring godliness down to the world, unite HaKadosh Baruch Hu to elevate the world, and to bring God to the world and reveal God in the world, not in a hidden way that God's revealed, but I cannot see it, but in a revealed way, that not only that there is a revelation of God, but I see it be'edei basar. I see it like the Jewish people saw the Matan Torah. For the moment, we will see it in a reality in our bodies. There'll be a revelation of God, and that's why again we beg every day in our davening. And that's the wording, and listen to the wording of the davening. May we merit to see with our eyes. When you return to Zion with mercy, we want to have, that's the concept in our prayers that we daven every day, that we want to see Mashiach. We want to merit the coming of Mashiach. Not because we're looking for some more than the concept of revelation. That we'll merit to see with our eyes, not with our intellect, not with our emotions, but actually physically we'll merit the concept to see that the way that our service to God brings about a revelation not only in the spiritual realms, which that happens today. It's not enough in the spiritual realms. We want to see it because that's the purpose of creation, not because we want to reward to see this revelation? Because that's the purpose, not that we're missing anything because of this revelation. The purpose of creation is missing. That's the whole purpose of creation, was that they'll be able to see the physical world. We'll be able to actually see godliness revealed into it. And that's our journey. That's our purpose. Let us hope through learning Torah today, and we learned Chumash will merit to elevate this world, to bring it to its perfection, to its purpose, and we'll see. We'll see with our own eyes. We'll be able to see with our own eyes. Of course, revelation of God in this entire world. Today is the 22nd day of the month, which is chapter 106 and 107 in your Tillim. And in Mitzvah Hashem, I'll see you tomorrow. We'll continue at 8 o'clock. Pitas.